Hello again, everybody, and this is part 2 of tutorial 3, which is basic mathematical operations on integers and doubles. Okay, so now we will talk about long mathematical operations. For example, if we need to process multiplication, addition in one line, or multiplication, addition, and division in one line. So let's take the basic mathematical problem, which is I have 4 apples and I equals 4, and my friend Jack have twice the number of apples that I have. So int Jack equals, and this is how we define it. We can say int Jack equals 4 multiplied by 2. But here, if I change the number of apples that I have, Jack will have twice the number of apples that I have. So 4 multiplied by 2 will always refer to 8. So that's a bad way of programming, a bad way of defining the value of the variable. So we say a better way is I multiplied by 2. So whenever I change the I, Jack will always have twice the number of apples I have. So now, and our friend, for example, Catherine, have 3 times the apples that Jack have. So now we will say int k, resembling Catherine, have Jack multiplied by 3. So now whenever I change the number of apples, Jack is twice the number of apples and Catherine is 3 times the number of apples that Jack have. Okay, so now let's try finding the sum of the apples. Sum equals I plus Jack plus K. And here we forgot the primitive type, which is int. Now let's try and print the result to the console. So we can instantly write system.out.print I plus Jack plus K, but it will be more efficient and more neat to do it this way by giving this value inside an integer called sum or called result or whatever you want. And now let's see the result. Okay, so it's 36. Now if I change the number of apples I have into 2, the result will change. Whereas if I define Jack to be 4 multiplied by 2, the result will be a wrong answer. Okay, so now let's try and see the priority. Let's change this, and instead of doing int sum equals some variables, let's do it int sum equals some random numbers. 2 plus 4 plus 8 minus 5 between brackets 4 multiplied by 2, sorry, 4 multiplied by 2 plus 1. Okay, so now, okay, here plus, okay, so now it will respect the order of operations in the math library, and it will do 4 multiplied by 2, then it will go from left to right. 2 plus 4 plus 8 is 16, minus 5 is 9, plus 8 is 17, plus 1 is 18. And as you can see, it respected the order of operations, which is the brackets, then from left to right. Okay, if we remove the brackets, it will give the same result because the priority still goes for the multiplication. As you can see, the result did not change after running the code. So this is how you can deal with long programming, long mathematical operations. Always make sure to define the variables in a good way, not depending on a number, but depending on another variable if that's what you want in the problem. And always store the sum or the result in an integer or in a double, and then print the sum. Yes, and guys, let's now try adding doubles to our operations. So now we will define a double called d is equal to 2 0.5. Okay, so now let's try adding d here. It will give an error because we're saying in sum. So sum is an integer and we can't add a double in the operations because the result should be a double as we said in the part 1 of this tutorial. So now we will change sum or we will define a new sum. Let's define a new sum. Double sum2 equals sum1 plus d. And as you know guys, sum okay. And as you know guys, Java, keep in mind this, Java reads the code from up to down. So first it will find the result of this sum, then it will find the result of the second sum using the first sum. So if we define this here before the first sum, it will give an error because we said int sum2 double sum2 equals sum plus d. But if, like, let's see it, control C, control V, delete this, it's an error because Java now is reading the code integer I, and it will reach a point where we are saying sum2 is equal to sum plus d, but we did not define sum yet, even if though we defined it under it, but it's reading the code from up to down. So this statement should go after defining the sum in order for it to be right. So now let's print sum2 and it will be a double with a decimal place which is 0.5 since we added a double, and 20.5. And that's all for this tutorial. Hope you understand those operations and the difference between integer plus integer and integer plus double concept very well. For any questions, again, I say, guys, please post your questions in the comment box and we will be more than happy to answer you and to explain anything that is hard to you. Hope you're enjoying coding and see you next tutorial. Goodbye.